Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. And before we start this conversation, I just want to say good morning to Tobago Jojo, coming from all the way from Maryland, saying good morning to us here at the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. We see you, we acknowledge you. Thank you so much. God bless you. All right, we start our conversation this morning. We speak with Mr. Alan Stewart. He's the director of T.H.A, Tobago Emergency Management Agency. And as you know, we've entered into the rainy season 2024. And so we're going to get some discussions going in terms of preparedness, disaster preparedness for the upcoming rainy season. We know sometimes when we have heavy rains, we can, experience landslides and flooding. So we're going to have that conversation right away. Good morning, Mr. Stewart, and welcome.
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning, all of Tobago. It's beautiful being here. It's a wonderful day in the Republic.
That's right. And whenever you're on set and in studio with us, we always get information. And so, of course, we've entered into the rainy season, I think, over the weekend.
Correct.
They declared that we entered into the rainy season for this year. And so they also mentioned that we're going to be expecting a lot of heavy rainfall as well. And so, which is good because, as it is
Yes.
from the water conservation aspect, of course.
Water needs it.
Yes, we need that water. But in terms of the potential or the risk of flooding and landslides and all these types of things, heavy winds perhaps, we're going to have that discussion this morning.
Certainly indeed, we'll have that discussion.
Right.
It means a lot to us. It means a lot as it relates to preparedness. We have an opportunity to do just that. I recognize, or we should recognize, that this month of May, the National Disaster Office would have declared the month of May. This has been happening for several years now, where we look at the Hurricane Preparedness Month. And therefore, only last week and this week, we will see T.H.A and the rest of stakeholders getting involved in this level of trying to ensure that the rest of the population is quite prepared for the upcoming hurricane season.
Okay, and what type of season are we looking at in terms of the hurricane season? I don't know how they measure, the intensity of the winds and the rains and where the hurricane blows, but in terms of tracking so far, what can we expect in this season?
What the meteorological services is indicating that we will have another above and beyond season of hurricanes with storms. There are over 18 storms, excess of 18 storms have been identified this year. And as a result of that, you have maybe between 3 to 5 of them can become what you call catastrophic hurricanes. These named storms must be understood, understand exactly the severity. What do you expect from a storm? Storms can be categorized as circulated winds, or winds that are in circular motion that exceeds 39 miles per hour. When winds get to that extent, you have what is called a storm on your hand. When it gets to beyond 74 miles per hour, you have what you call a hurricane on your hand. It means that the winds are stronger. When they get to category 3, there's where you start looking at a major storm. And as a result of that, preparations for such major events can become a little more intense, in the sense that you require a particular type of reaction to such notification. You will want to look at preparedness as a period where you do certain things. You ensure that you make yourself a hard target. What is a hard target? It means that when you understand these wind conditions, you're making the necessary arrangements that your homes, your businesses, your place of work, and also the general infrastructure is one that has a level of resilience that can withstand these hazards. Hydrometeorological hazards are very common to us. We would have seen, as to the opening of the rainy season, the declaration was made this weekend gone, and immediately you saw incidents, 2 incidents I recalled, one generated out of winds, and the other, a tree fell onto a a residential property. Now, there's the dichotomy. Sometimes the tree is not the owner, the persons who is impacted by the event itself sometimes are not the owners of these trees. It means, therefore, we have to now be our neighbors' keepers. I want to take this opportunity to remind that level of responsibility. It goes along with caring for not just yourself, but also your neighbors. So if you have a tree on your premises and you recognize that that tree, if high winds were to take it and it may fall on your neighbor's property, then you can be held responsible for it. It's your property that is damaged and another person's property. Now may be the appropriate time to do the necessary trimming, falling if necessary. And there are tree cutters out there who can be engaged to assist in this regard. There are many other areas that we have to pay attention to. As in my opening remarks, I spoke about the sectors without using the word. But when we talk about residential property owners, then we speak about the workplace, we talk about businesses, we talk about the public sector. All these are varying sectors that must understand that they have a responsibility where preparedness is concerned and to do what is imperative to ensure that there are certain levels of resilience. We pride ourselves at T.H.A where we envisage Tobago to becoming that type of island where we consider it to be resilient, inclusive, adaptable to our changing environment, and therefore it is necessary that we now leverage with strong governance arrangements to ensure that we leverage whatever resources that are available to us and move it towards where you have disaster risk being reduced. That is our vision. That is our vision at T.H.A, where we sustainably manage those resources, and in so doing, you leverages towards disaster reduction.
All right, two things I want to follow up on. One, you spoke about probably having trees that look as if they might fall if we have strong winds. Is there an opportunity for the homeowner, the residents who has this tree on their premises to call on T.H.A to make an assessment to say, well, okay, yes, we think you should probably. Do you give that measure of advice, or is it up the onus on the residents to decide, I'm going to trim this tree, maybe I should, nothing is wrong with the tree, I should leave it? What is the relationship there in terms of advising and making recommendations? Also, are you able to provide that service as well to assist them in cutting or falling the tree?
So while my answer is no, in the sense that T.H.A is not responsible for your property. The property, whatever is your property, it is your responsibility. But yes, the advice in terms of giving advice, our CERT teams normally go out, and sometimes where there is a complaint, sometimes the person who is making the complaint is not the owner of the tree. They are being threatened by the tree, and therefore they make a complaint. Sometimes we have to reach over and carefully navigate the situation where we give advice to the homeowner. Look, your tree is threatening this person. And sometimes the fallen leaves, the debris from the tree falling on the person's property, things like that. It also constitutes a particular type of health hazard, public health hazard, where your droppings from your tree may be interfering with somebody else's property. You may have the guttering being filled with the deposit of leaves, especially when you move from one season into another. You have a release of these leaves that normally with the first set of winds that we experience. You saw some of that over the weekend, where these dry leaves now leaves, and then you have that change, or what is known as autumn, where you have fresh leaves coming up. So you have those situations which must be attended to, in a particular way.
All right, and we also talking about as you plan your strategies in terms of put things in place to ensure that properties are safe. You mentioned that we should take our responsibility as well to ensure that we safeguard our properties. And I know, of course, you'd be speaking with other agencies who are in support of trying to ensure a safe Tobago in general. All communities are safe, all homes,
That's right,
properties are safe,
sectors, yeah.
are safe. And I know sometimes, especially in the east, we experience a lot of landslides, and you see debris in the road, or sometimes even in people's homes, you see where the soil is falling away and stuff like that. And I know a lot of residents have called and asked for assistance in terms of probably some sort of retaining wall, or I'm not sure what the conversation is now in terms of that outreach to the community to ensure that they know that these are things they need to put in place. If there's any type of assistance from all the agencies who are coming together, because things happen and sometimes we leave things for chance one, and we leave things for the very last minute. So in terms of preparing for any potential landslides in areas that are susceptible to that, is anything in place for that type of activity?
Yes, certainly. So we have been reaching out with some of the players in the sectors. For example, we have a very close relationship with the DIQUD. Up to over the weekend, myself and the secretary for that division, we had some discussions about hazards that needed to be attended to. Then you have the roles of the roadways, drainage to be looked at. For example, the removal of debris. Over the years, we recognize that that has been going quite well, where the divisions have been going into those riverines, watercourses, and making certain clearance. We see the work is taking place. The removal of these debris is very critical. Then you have the other, is it happening fast enough? No, we expect it to be a little more robust. We expect the other sectors, for example, the utilities, have a responsibility. There are a lot of waste that are on these utility poles. They are causing a serious hazard in terms of the amount of waste lines that are not actually engaged, but remnants remaining on these poles, that we know that every now and again cars, they become entangled with either fallen trees, or in some cases some of the lines are pulled down by trees that are falling. As a result of that, T.H.A, we observe over during the dry season, they started their work where they have been doing these cuttings. That is the type of activities that we undertake with some of the utilities to ensure that we make certain areas a bit more resilient going forward. Is it enough? No, it's not. We need to do more. We have to, accelerate the response in a particular way where we think that we are equal to the threat. I did also mention the categories of weather that we can expect. We must prepare for that catastrophic event, or what you may call coming out of a major storms, with winds that are excess of probably 90 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour winds. These type of winds can cause severe damages. It means, therefore, for example, if there is a Category 3 event impacting Tobago, something similar like what we had during Hurricane Flora, it means, therefore, that there will be a number of losses. So in your home plan, it's imperative that we do the necessary to take care of ourselves, our community, our workplace for at least 72 hours. With widespread damages, you have a significant amount of impact that will exceed the capacity of first responders that are so designated. We have, for example, we have a CERT program. We have seen a loss in terms of the manpower that is readily available sometimes, or not readily available on a daily basis, in terms of what you will consider to be able to deal with 3 and 4 incidents simultaneously. That is heavily impacted. You go around in all of the emergency response services, they have the same complaint about manpower. and therefore it gave us the opportunity to engage what you call CERT 1000 strong, where you have volunteers that are being trained within the communities to be able to take care of their communities in a particular manner. What is important apart from the training is tooling, giving them the necessaries that are to undertake certain risk factors that may pop, certain incidents that can occur in the community. For example, if you're living on the north side, on the windward ends, you expect to have land slippage, slope failures, fallen trees, fallen power lines, things like that. How do you distinguish between the both, in terms of the utility lines? Those are critically important information that you want persons to know and to be able to identify which is which to keep themselves safe. Then that speaks to PPEs, the personal protective equipment. So tooling becomes, those are the three major areas that we are working. We have started with, we have over 600 and something persons that have come forward and registered. Over 250 persons have been trained already, and we continue to bump up the training. It means, therefore, that we have to collaborate with our handlers, such as government. As I said earlier on, that sustainable development means that you leverage and your resources in a particular way in order to satisfy disaster risk.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of information there. As we prepare to, as you said, we might experience some storms.
Just one to
Just
throw
one.
us back.
Okay, just one, is enough to set us back a little bit. And so we're really happy that you have started putting things in place. And it's nice to know that also communities are coming together, volunteers are there to assist as well. Remember, we have a responsibility to ensure that our properties are in good standing condition. If you have any sort of debris around your home, get rid of them, because you don't want those high winds taking those things and sailing them across to your neighbor's property. If you have trees that look weak, let's try to trim them and let us look out for each other. I wish we had more time to have more conversations, but of course we'll of course have another conversation again on this show to get more information and more insight. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Alan Stewart, the director of T.H.A, Tobago Emergency Management Agency, as we prepare for the hurricane storm season that is already in the atmosphere. We're in the rainy season, so we can expect some strong winds and some strong rains coming. Let us take care of our personal property. And stay tuned to T.H.A for more information as it relates to this. Of course, Tobago Updates will have that conversation again to bring you more insight and the progress as we head on steadily into the rainy season. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a short break before we continue conversations this morning. And as we take this break, of course, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.